We're about to look at some coincidences that are so wild they feel completely impossible. But are they? Is it all just random chance, or is there something bigger going on? Let's dig in and try to figure it out.
I bet you have. It's that moment where something happens and you just have to stop and think, what are the odds? Well, buckle up because the stories we're about to share are going to push that question to its absolute limit.
Okay, so first up, we've got three stories that are, well, they're just impossible. And I'm not kidding, these are real, documented events that sound like they were dreamed up by a Hollywood screenwriter. All right, so picture this. It's June 2001. We've got a 10-year-old girl, Laura Buxton, and she does this really sweet, simple thing for her grandparents' anniversary. She scribbles her name and address on a note, ties it to a balloon, and just lets it drift off into the sky.
And man, did that balloon go for a ride. It just floated on the wind, traveling clear across England from a town called Stafford. Eventually, it comes back down to earth and gets caught on a hedge. A local farmer spots it, reads the note, and thinks, I should take this to my neighbors. Now get this, that balloon traveled 225 kilometers. That's about 140 miles. The odds of it landing anywhere near a person who'd actually read the note are already insane. But trust me, that's not even the craziest part of the story. Not even close. So the neighbor's daughter finds the balloon, and her name? It was Laura Buxton. And you probably guessed it, she was also 10 years old. I mean, come on. Two girls, same name, same age, brought together by a balloon that flew 140 miles. It's just mind-boggling. Oh, but it gets even stranger. When these two Lauras finally met up, they looked weirdly similar. They were even wearing similar outfits. And then, for the grand finale, they find out they both owned the exact same combo of pets, a guinea pig, a rabbit, and a black lab. At this point, it's just beyond belief. Okay, if that story didn't blow your mind, let's try this one. We're jumping back to the early 70s now, and our main character is a young, up-and-coming actor named Anthony Hopkins. Yeah, that Anthony Hopkins, before he was a household name. So Hopkins gets a role in this movie called The Girl from Petrovka. He's trying to do his homework, read the book the movie's based on, but he can't find a copy anywhere. He searches all over London, no luck. He finally gives up, heads home through the subway, and what does he see sitting on a bench? A discarded book. And yep, it's The Girl from Petrovka. Okay, so fast forward a few months, Hopkins is on set and he meets the author of the book, a guy named George Pfeiffer. He tells him this wild story about finding the book on the bench. Pfeiffer is just floored. He asked to see the copy Hopkins found, and it turns out it was the author's own personal copy. It had his notes in the margins. A friend had lost it ages ago. What are the odds? All right, our last story. This one's a bit chilling, honestly. It's 1864. Abraham Lincoln's son, Robert Todd Lincoln, is at a train station. He slips, starts to fall onto the tracks right as a train is coming. Suddenly, a hand grabs him and pulls him back to safety. His savior? A man named Edwin Booth, who just happened to be one of the most famous actors in America. Then, just a year later, President Lincoln is at Ford's Theater, and he's assassinated. The killer? John Wilkes Booth, Edwin's brother. Okay, wow, those stories are a lot. They feel important, right? Like there has to be some kind of meaning behind them. But now we have to ask the other question. What does science have to say? Let's switch gears and see if there's a rational explanation for all this. So, this is really the heart of it, isn't it? Are these stories proof that there's some kind of cosmic plan? Or are our brains just playing tricks on us, connecting dots that aren't actually there? Well, statistics offers our first piece of the puzzle. It's something called the law of large numbers, and it's actually pretty simple. It basically says that if you try something enough times, even the craziest, most improbable thing is bound to happen eventually. It's not destiny, it's just a numbers game. So what does enough times even mean? Well, think about it. There are billions of us on this planet. Every single day, we're having trillions of tiny interactions. When you're dealing with numbers that big, a 1 in a billion shot, well, it's not just likely to happen. It's practically guaranteed to happen to someone, somewhere, eventually. And then there's the other side of this, our own brains. We are wired to see patterns. It's a survival thing. But this leads to something called the clustering illusion. Our brain looks at the story of the two Lauras, same name, same age, same pets, and it just lights up. It screams, "This is a sign." But a statistician would just say, well, that's a random cluster of traits that happen to be common for girls that age in that country. And this really sets up the big conflict, doesn't it? Our human brain, our heart, sees a story. It sees fate and meaning. But cold, hard statistics sees randomness, probability. It's this huge gap between our need for a narrative and what the numbers actually say.
And one last piece of the puzzle from psychology, availability bias. Basically, the crazier and more dramatic a story is, the more easily we remember it. And because we remember it so vividly, our brain thinks it's more important or more common than it really is. We all know the Lincoln Booth story, but we don't remember the thousands of times nothing happened. The wild stories are the ones that survive, and that skews our perception.
Okay, so we've got these incredible, seemingly impossible stories on one side, and we've got the cold, logical explanations from science and math on the other. So now what? Where do we go from here? How do we make sense of these two totally different views?
And I know what you might be thinking. If it's all just math and psychology, does that ruin it? Does it suck all the magic out of these stories?
Well, I don't think it has to, because let's be real, we're not robots. We're not just here to crunch numbers. We are hardwired to look for meaning and connection. That's what makes us human. It's how we tell stories, how we understand our place in the world.
And I think that means we can hold two ideas in our heads at the same time. Science can explain the statistical, how it happened, but our minds can and should still search for the personal why it feels important. Understanding the physics of a sunset doesn't make it any less beautiful. The awe can still be there.
So maybe the answer isn't cosmic design or random chance. Maybe these stories are something in between. Maybe they're like these rare little monuments to the universe we live in, a place that's messy and chaotic, but also capable of producing these moments of, well, strange, beautiful order.
And that's really the final thought I want to leave you with. What if the real wonder isn't about finding some secret message from the universe? What if the wonder is just in the wild, incredible, mind-blowing fact that it happened at all?